Hello everybody, welcome to another session of HPSG. In the previous video, we have seen that each entity can be described in terms of feature structures. Each entity can be a type which may consist of subtypes, and each subtype is characterized by a specific value of a feature. Each subtype inherits general features from its supertype. How do feature structures help us with linguistic data? We shall see in this video how linguistic data can be described in terms of feature structures, and also make an attempt to account for transitivity and agreement. We will begin with saying that there are no one kind of linguistic entities. That is, entities are of different types and certain features are specific to certain types. For example, number as a feature, its value is singular, and number as another feature and plural as its value are specified only for nouns and pronouns and not for prepositions and adjectives. Right? That is, singular and plural are the values of number which are characteristic of nouns and pronouns. Similarly, aux feature distinguishes certain verbs from others. Right? Only auxiliary verbs have aux feature. Other verbs, that is main verbs, will not have. Also, aux is not a feature of nouns. That is, it's not appropriate to nouns. So, features of a type tell us what general properties that type exhibits. This way, feature structures reflect only information which is appropriate for that type of linguistic entity. Okay, that is, what we are getting is a hierarchical organization of linguistic types. You have entities, a linguistic entity as a type, and you have subtypes with certain specific features. This hierarchical organization of linguistic types helps us to classify feature structures. For examples, we know verbs are divided into intransitive and transitive verbs, and transitive verbs are divided into strict and ditransitive verbs. Okay, let's look at transitivity. We have already said verbs are of three different types: intransitive, transitive and ditransitive. And if we consider this feature, transitive, intransitive and ditransitive, as values, then we have the following feature structures for the three different types of verbs we have seen. That is, what we see here: word, parts of speech is a verb, verb is a value of parts of speech, and then valence, it is intransitive. Similarly, you have pause as feature, verb as value, valence is strict transitive meaning one object, monotransitive, and valence which has a DTR, a ditransitive value, is a ditransitive verb. So three different feature structures for three different subtypes of verbs. Right? That is, intransitive verbs have intransitive value, transitive verbs have strict transitive value, and ditransitive valency. But remember, all the three are of type word, and all of them have verb as the value of parts of speech feature. Right? That is, they all belong to the type verb. They are and all the three are subtypes of that verb. Right? So they share the type word, they share the pause value, so they all fall under a general category verb, but they distinguish between the different valence possibilities or values which are assigned to valence. Okay. Now, once we have a category verb, then what is a verb phrase? How are they distinguished? Verb and verb phrase. In the previous slide, we have seen that the three subtypes of verbs possess something common. So, if you remove the specific features of all the three verbs, then you have the type verb. Right? What is the feature structure for a verb? If you ask it, then you say verb. It's a word with a parts of speech category verb. Right? We have removed the specific features. When we leave the valence value, the feature structure refers to a verb. In general, leaving out feature specifications in order to specify a larger class of linguistic entities is called underspecification. Right? Then what is the verb phrase? Verb phrase has feature pause, parts of speech, and its value also is a verb, but the only thing is it's a different type. So verb phrase is another type. So you have verb is of the type word, verb phrase is of the type phrase, but both of them share the same feature and same feature value. Similarly, a noun and a noun phrase. Both noun and noun phrase have the same pause feature with the value noun, but they are of different types, which we have word and phrase. So now what we have is nouns, verbs, prepositions, adjectives are not atoms. They are feature structures. In fact, they are abbreviations for feature structures. Right? A noun has a feature structure, a verb has a feature structure, a verb phrase has a feature structure, a noun phrase also has a feature structures. So noun, noun phrase, verb, verb phrase, preposition, etc. are all only abbreviations which we use for the feature structures. Now let's look at the phrase structure rules. Phrase structure rules are now simplified. How? You have a phrase on the left hand side which is expanded to the another feature structures which are words. Right? If you remember our phrase structure rules which we talked about earlier, we say on the left hand side you have expandable categories, and on the left hand side you have lexical and phrasal categories, both expandable and non-expandable, or terminal and non-terminal nodes on the right hand side. The same thing happens here too, but the only difference is we are describing the phrase structure rules in terms of features. Now on the left hand side we find the type phrase with a parts of speech category, parts of speech feature, which has the value shared with the value of the word on the right side. Right? The value of the pause of the phrase is shared with one of its daughters. If you are looking at it in terms of tree, this is a mother node and this is a daughter node. Similarly, this is a mother node and this is a daughter node, and NP another daughter node. Right? So the value, pause value of the phrase and pause value of the daughter node are identical, and valence is intransitive. So this is one of the phrase structure rules which we have seen, and we are putting it in terms of feature structures. Similarly, for a transitive verb, right? Phrase, pause value is shared with its daughter node, one of its daughter node, and you have valence strict transitive. Similarly, for the ditransitive verbs. What we see here is the pause value of the mother node and the pause value of the daughter node must be unified. The value 1, which we have seen here, is obviously verb, if it is a verb phrase. Right? The value is underspecified. so that the rules can be extended to other categories too. So we are not giving what pos value is. If I say verb here, this will be a verb phrase only. But if I don't give anything here, I am just saying this value and this value are same. That means this can be of any value, maybe verb, maybe a noun, maybe an adjective or a preposition. If this is a noun, because this is shared with this is a noun phrase, right? If this value is a preposition and this value is shared here at the phrasal level, so this is a prepositional phrase, right? So the first one can be a noun phrase rule, the second one can be a PP rule. PP can have a preposition and a noun phrase. Noun phrase can have only a noun without a complement, right? Okay, the rules are very simplified now. We can see further simplification, and we are going to look at the agreement which we have seen earlier. So what we have seen till now is transitivity. Transitivity, which had a lot of redundancy, which is taken care of now because transitivity has become part of the word. It's a feature now. Similarly, we look at agreement. Agreement can also be a feature, but it is actually tagging the number value. We are looking at any number agreement. So number as a feature which has either singular or plural value, which is shared with one of the daughter's number value. Similarly, with the strict transitive and ditransitive verbs. So if the word is a verb, right? It's a verb. What kind of verb? A verb which is intransitive because it doesn't have any complement. And let's take an example. Runs. Runs is an intransitive verb. Runs is singular. So if the number value is singular, the number value here is also singular. And the valency is intransitive. Right? Let's take a verb like hit. Hit is a transitive verb. They hit John. Now hit here is a plural. So number is plural, which is shared with the phrase here, verb phrase. So hit John, right? Hit is a plural and the phrase also plural. Okay, so agreement is also now taken care of. In terms of feature, we are using number now. Similarly, we can extend these rules even to sentence S. When you say a subject and a verb in a sentence agree, that is NP and VP agree, NP gets its agreement number from its noun, verb phrase gets number value from its verb. So both of them will have at the phrasal level number value, and if those two values are shared with S, then we have a subject verb agreement at the sentence level. So we can extend the same to the rule expanding S. The number value of the NP can be identical to the num value of the VP. Right? Can you see how simplified it is now? In fact, with agreement we had to write several rules. It was very redundant. Right? Number of rules increased, and also there was redundant information. So which we could take care of with the use of features. Let's meet in the next video.